Hello, everyone. Today I kind of wanted to just ramble a little bit. I was kind of doing some thinking, and I was thinking about the fact that I keep seeing people online, like on TikTok, on YouTube, different places, and they basically keep on sugarcoating La Santa Muerte. And when I say that, I mean they keep kind of altering what it means to work with her, what she represents, what it is that she kind of means, because it suits their viewpoint, their paradigm, much better. And because La Santa Muerte, she isn't a concrete thing. Like, there isn't a Bible or something that says this is how she is, this is what it is. It's kind of like an oral tradition at this point, for the most part. And people within the community have a lot of conflicting ideas and sentiments regarding La Santa Muerte. And for me, as someone, I consider myself very neutral. And I kind of just observe things passively, and I don't usually try to put my opinions out there too much. I mean, obviously I do to an extent, because I do have social media accounts where I talk about this. But I mean, I try not to speak too much on one end or the other end of the spectrum, for fear of rocking the boat, we can say. But I know as more time passes, I'll eventually kind of share more of my personal beliefs and opinions and feelings. And one thing I do want to speak on and just kind of ramble about aimlessly a little bit here is people keep on trying to sugarcoat and water down what Santa Muerte is, what she represents, what it's like working with her, things like that. Now we know the kinds of stereotypes that are perpetuated by the media and by non-devotees, people who have been exposed to Santa Muerte indirectly but never really worked with her, or people who have just heard a lot of malicious or very polarizing kind of viewpoints, almost always negative, about Santa Muerte and being a narco saint, and being very volatile and dangerous to be around, etc., etc. And that's people who are not even devotees a lot of the time. And the problem is, within the ranks, within the realm of devotees themselves, there are a lot of people who are just kind of spreading a lot of weird hot takes about her and kind of pushing it as fact to kind of further, I don't want to say to further their own agenda, but maybe more so kind of molding her a little bit to be able to more neatly fit into their lives, their spiritual viewpoints or religious views. And you see that a lot. Now, some devotees are Catholic, some are not. Some devotees practice magic, some do not. Some devotees who do practice magic are very much of the light, fully right hand path, healers, light workers, new agers, things like that. Some people are fully left hand path. They work with demons, infernal spirits. They also work with La Santa Muerte. You have various contrasting groups here who all work with the same being. And not all of those groups are trying to push a certain idea or propel a certain image of her forward. The first thing that's come to mind for me is among the Catholic devotees, and they do not all do this, but La Santa Muerte's name is saint, saint of death, or most holy death, but she is not officially a saint. To become a saint, it's an official title, and it's a very long process to become a saint within the realm of Catholicism, right? The canonization process is very long. It can take decades, and this is, for people who are kind of, put up for the idea of becoming a saint, because you have to be sort of nominated, we could say, And it's a whole process to become an official canonized Catholic saint. And there are even some saints who are officially canonized who they have that removed because maybe they can't prove that they really existed or something like that. And now Santa Muerte, she is not even, a human being. She is a powerful entity. And so she is absolutely not a Catholic saint. Just technically speaking, she's not a Catholic saint. It's a title, it's an official title. And no, she has not gone through that process. And if anything, the Catholic, the church vehemently opposes, worship of La Santa Muerte. And that just is what it is. She is a folk saint. A folk saint is not a Catholic saint. Not at all. Folk saint is more like a general title given to anyone or anything that people kind of pray to in a semi-religious kind of a way for intercession and for them to provide miracles. There are folk saints like Santa Muerte or San La Muerte. Those are like Grim Reaper-like figures, but there are animals who are folk saints. There are singers, politicians who have been made into folk saints. It's an extremely vague and very broad category. It's like, if somebody is worshipped enough, we're just going to slap the title folk saint on them, saint of the people. And it's nothing like being an officially canonized Catholic saint. And so I don't think of La Santa Muerte as a saint, personally. And I love saints. I have a lot of books about saints. I love reading about them, and I love folk saints too. Extremely interesting to me, but I've never considered her a saint. It's an official title, and one that she doesn't merit because she hasn't gone through that really long, grueling canonization process. Now, there are a lot of Catholic devotees who there's a lot of contradicting origin stories for La Santa Muerte, and some of those stories, have a very Catholic kind of flavor to them. A Catholic spin on her, saying that she's an angel, like one of God's angels who came down to kind of help some humans. There are stories that saying she is the angel, the biblical angel Azrael, the angel of death. And there are some stories which say she sits at God's side and she kind of acts as an intermediary being or like an emissary of his. There are some who said she was a saint in life or that she was a nun in life. And some people, they really stand by these stories, these, origin stories for her, because it helps them kind of, reckon and kind of, I don't want to say be more comfortable with, but kind of that more neatly fits into their religious or spiritual ideologies that they already hold within themselves. It helps her kind of mesh better with their spiritual paradigms that they kind of adhere to. And, it's very interesting to see, I've seen people in the comment sections on TikTok videos arguing amongst themselves. Even in my own, Instagram reels, I will see people commenting. I don't usually stop to comment or input my own opinions about it, but I will see the back and forths. And people are arguing, saying, no, this isn't her. She's a saint. She is one of God's saints. She would never be involved with, evil magic or all kinds of things. And I just find it interesting and intriguing that people, they choose to view her through such a hyper-specific lens, of religion. And not only religion, but sometimes people, sometimes it's not even religious. Sometimes people are just very much, love and light, and they want everything around them to be beautiful and peaceful and happy, and they will become devotees, or they will be devotees, and they will talk about her, and it's almost like they try to sweep under the rug or omit the fact that she is worked with by people who are unsavory, we'll say, or people who are morally reprehensible, or people who are on the wrong side of the law, we can also say. People who, and that's not necessarily talking about even like left-hand path people. This is talking about people who are like organized crime and those kind of dealings that we all know about, hence the title Narco Saint. And they will totally act like that's not the case. They say, no, not my Santa Muerte. She's kind, she's so motherly, she's so sweet, she's so peaceful. She would never be involved with people like that. She would never do things like that. No, that's not the real Santa Muerte. My Santa Muerte is the real Santa Muerte. And my Santa Muerte is comforting and motherly. She's my grandmother. She's my mother. She's my godmother. And they will argue with their whole chest. They will stand on that. They will die on that hill. That Santa Muerte would never be involved with unsavory characters. And in a way, they're kind of like sugarcoating her a little bit. And it's kind of, it feels like a disservice to her, because to me, one of my favorite things about her is that she is not particularly discriminative about who she allows to work with her. People from all walks of life, people who walk in the light, people who walk in the shadows, people on the right-hand path, people on the left-hand path, regular blue-collar workers or extremely advanced practitioners, black people, white people, Hispanic people, Asian people. It doesn't really matter. And it's one of my favorite things about her. And, I would not act like or perpetuate the idea that she would shun or never work with a certain group of people solely because I don't resonate with that group of people, or because maybe some of the things that they do make me uncomfortable. To me, it's not really fair to those people, and I think it's very misleading to would-be devotees or devotees who simply don't have access to as much information to create a more solid, opinion on their own. So my phone's battery is getting lower and lower. The last thing I want to try to touch on really quickly is people watering down La Santa Muerte. Now, there are general guidelines for working with her, general things all devotees roughly agree on, but there's a lot of nuance to working with La Santa Muerte. There's a lot to it. And it's not to say it's complicated, but anything that seems simple, the more you know about it, the more complicated it can seem. And there's just always a lot more to it. And that's why we keep watching videos. That's why we keep reading books. Why we read blogs on websites. It's why we are, and why we should be ravenous for information, to keep expanding our knowledge. A lot of times when we see people making content, especially short form content, like YouTube Shorts, TikTok, TikToks, or Instagram Reels, or Facebook Shorts, or whatever they're called, with that kind of content, because it's so short, it's usually only bite-sized information, and sometimes things can be oversimplified to the point where you kind of lose the integrity of the information you're sharing. You have to leave stuff out. You have to choose to omit information just for the sake of brevity and just for the chance to kind of get it out there, to the people. But, you are kind of, they're kind of getting the short end of the stick because they're not getting all the information, or if they are getting it, it's very broken up. And a lot of people who kind of disseminate information this way, especially if they only make short form content, it's like, the people who follow you, they're not getting the full picture there. It's not really something you want to, make a habit of. Now, I have seen some people on TikTok who make longer videos, shorter videos interspersed between, but generally speaking, I have seen people oversimplify devotion to La Santa Muerte, or kind of boil her down to just a few keywords or a few talking points, without really getting into the nuances of her, because she is a folk saint. She does have ties to the Aztec underworld, but she has ties to potentially other underworlds as well. She has her own realms. She has her own devoted people from all walks of life in various magical paths and paradigms, different conflicting magical currents of people that work with her. She is a psychopath, so she is a type of a entity, type of being that kind of chauffeurs the dead from the afterlife or into their respective afterlives, wherever they're going to end up. And that it's in itself, there's so much to it. There's the the necromantic and the Saturnian elements. There's all her different companion animals that she can show up with. There's all the different aspects and the rope colors and the combination colors. And to have somebody try to leave out everything just to say, oh, this is Santa Muerte. She is a skeleton. She's friendly. You reach out to her if you want more love in your life or more money. And you're leaving out the fact that this is a lifelong partnership. This is not a transactional type of relationship. Things like that. And so it's kind of like a small gripe when people, or maybe it's a big gripe actually, that people have and continue to kind of water down Santa Muerte devotion and what that really means, along with people trying to, mold her like clay to fit into their pre-existing worldviews, and then passing that on like it's gospel to maybe people who don't know any better, new devotees. And so I just wanted to kind of get on here. It's not exactly a rant. It's just me talking, from the top of my head a little bit. I just had been thinking about it for a few days, and I had filmed like a 2-minute video discussing this in my backyard, and then I didn't really like how it turned out, so I just deleted it. But I'm happy that I sat down to talk about it now. So thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and hope to see all of you soon in the next one. Take care.